Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, we're coming to a close of chapter 4 of our book, Positive Islamic Psychology, a transcendent model to achieve peace, happiness and success in the 21st century. And today we are concluding our chapter 4, and today we're discussing on the subtopic of spiritual and mystical knowledge, because Islam is an integrative whole, and I've explained to you in many of my previous video about our understanding from the level of the spiritual, emotional, mental and physical self and the realms of existence based on the Al-Ghazali model and the model developed by earlier Muslim scholars, and also how this affect our understanding of the realm of the spiritual and how we can integrate this understanding to achieve and become achievers in life, to achieve the fullness of life in terms of our spiritual well-being, emotional well-being, mental well-being and our physical well-being as an integrated whole. And if we can achieve that, we have done our role to be a true and sincere servant of Allah and to be His Khalifa on this earth. So I'm going to read one or two paragraphs. All right. So about spiritual and mystical knowledge. Spiritual mystical knowledge is the spiritual knowledge, and the world could surely use a lot more of spirituality. So we must have, because we are so drawn towards the dunya, the physical aspect, atheistic materialism, secularism, that we have divorced ourselves from our true nature, which is spiritual. This is where the basis of Islamic theology as well as the basic of Islamic way of life. As long as we don't diverge from the truth, then the distinction between the spiritual and the material is only a matter of language. So if we understand the absoluteness of everything, going back to the absolute realm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything is His command, His manifestation to become, be, and it is. So whether it's in the spiritual realm or the material realm, it can be finally be consolidated. As long we don't diverge from the truth, then the distinction between the spiritual and the material is only a matter of language. All truth is connected as part of a unified whole. So everything is a unity, a holistic entity of what we call our existence, and the absolute entity of what we call God or Allah. Our minds have reached a degree of harmonious union where I'm sure that we'll have no difficulty understanding each other no matter how we speak of the truth. So if we can bring about this understanding, for example, the Ghazalian model that I'm going to explain to you, I explained many times, we can bridge our understanding to reach out to those who are skeptical about the spiritual world. They're skeptical about life after death, they're skeptical about the existence of spiritual beings and so on. So we can reach out to them, because today the science of quantum physics and beyond quantum physics, non-locality event, all prove to many more levels of understanding or many more levels of existence beyond the physical plane, beyond the atom, beyond the subatomic particle, beyond the quarks. Beyond that, there are more levels of subtleties, which is very bridging upon the idea of spirituality, because at that level, no scientist, no quantum physicist can explain. It is something that they say is beyond them. All right? But we have those explanations. So if they cannot explain, we as Muslims can understand and explain this as a coherent truth. Then we should propound this to the world. And be not ashamed, be not afraid, because that is the truth. وَقُلْ جَالْ حَقُّ وَزَحَّكَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. So truth will triumph. And we must be able to bring about this truth to everybody, especially we as Muslims, our children, our grandchildren, our families, our friends. We got to coach them, mentor them, teach them of this true nature of our existence in this world, our true nature of existence in the spiritual realm, our true nature of existing beyond space and time, our true existence of living forever. In closeness or in reality with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the journey of life. Not having a Ferrari, not having a beautiful girlfriend or boyfriend or the latest gadget on this earth, the latest 3D printer or whatever you name it. Those are just tools. Those are playthings. Those are distraction. But we must understand this reality of the spirituality at the deepest level of our understanding. It is reasonable because once we know how individual consciousness or personality develop, we'll be able to know how individual consciousness can change. And after we know how individual consciousness can change, then since human society is made up of consciousness of billions of individuals, 7 billion human beings, we'll be able to understand how all human society can change and come to hold a new worldview, a new holistic worldview that is within the purview of what we are trying to teach in positive Islamic psychology. That is the purview of Islam. Striving to make ourselves good, helping others to be good, making the world good, having peace, justice, happiness, fulfillment. That is all that Allah has ordained upon, trying to recreate this Jannah on this earth as best I can. No doubt there is evil, there are two forces fighting within this world. But our duty, we are the flag bearer of goodness. Iblis and Shaitan are the flag bearer of evil. So there will be a constant battle, but inshallah we shall triumph. If we rely on Allah, we should have a full understanding and triumph. Moreover, once we know how one person develops and changes, then we will have a pretty good idea how society develops and changes. Our thoughts and feelings are very much physical activities at one level. And concerning the question, if our thoughts and feelings are physical activities, then why can't they be observed? The answer is that the question goes back to our earlier discussion about the nature of physical existence. Our body is made up of physical matter. Our physical body is made up of extremely complex grouping of subatomic particles, mainly proton, neutron, and electron. When large groupings of these subatomic particles, say for instance, this subatomic reach up, our arm moved, then we have no difficulty observing our arm. So our arm, when we move, is a movement of at the quantum level. All right, moving the subatomic particles, moving the atoms, moving the organ, our muscle tissues to say, okay, up, down. All right, so if we understand that, the root cause of this movement is not this physical body, but a signal far deeper at the supraconscious level, which we can understand at the, with greater understanding. We should understand it, because this is the model I've been teaching you all. Our human self, all right, our human self consists of our roh, that means our spirit, our heart, our qalb, our akal. That means spirit, emotion, SEMP, mental and physical. So our self, our nafs consists of the interaction or the interplay of these four elements. So we are always constantly interacting within the realm of the roh, the akal, the qalb and the jasad, because it's just like our body. Our body, physical body, just to give an analogy, our physical body is the interaction of our organs. All right, we take our major organs. Our heart. If our heart stops, can we live? Can we live? We can't. Our lungs, we breathe in. Our lungs play a role in oxygenating the blood. All right. Our guts, we eat food, digest the food, supply the energy to the cell, ATP. All right, and then from the cell it supplies, so on. So we have our heart, we have our lungs, we have our guts, we have our liver, we have our kidney. So, but if we take four, now our realms in terms of our existence at the physical level is the jasad, the body. All right, this is the jasad. This is the physical body. But this physical body is actually interacting as a holistic whole. That means our roh, or our spirit, our conscious and subconscious and supraconscious mind, our akal and our qalb is interacting. And this self, as we manifested in this world, this nafs is either moving up or moving down. And we have hierarchy of understanding. Because if you study psychology, Maslow hierarchy of need, his understanding is physical. We need to fulfill our physical need, our food, our shelter, our clothing. Then we need to fulfill our mental needs, then emotional needs, and then finally spiritual. But this is also non-existent. In Maslow, it's called self-actualization, but it is nothing to do with spirituality. But I'm just taking this as spiritual. So his hierarchy is based on, grounded in secular materialism. Even at the highest level, when he says self-actualization, it is something that you self-actualize. For example, you self-actually becoming a millionaire, you self-actually becoming a successful man, you self-actualize becoming a successful astronaut, whatever it is. That is their meaning. because they don't believe in God. All right, so this is the secular model, but in Islam, Al-Ghazali and all the other scholars has mentioned our basic fundamental existence is spiritual. Spiritual, then our cult. But our cult actually, from the Islamic perspective, is radiating its influence throughout. So actually the loci of control within Islam, within Islamic psychology, is our cult. There are many reasons why, because there are the Quranic verses and also the hadith. So it is radiating at this level all its influences. Alright, then we have our akal and our physical jasad. So our physical jasad, as we live on this earth, is with us. When we die, this part, this P now, is no more there. So we are left with SEM. This P now becomes an imprint of our existence in this dunya. And we are answerable for this imprint. And how this goes to the next level in Barzah and so on, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of controversy, but I'm not going to go into that because as we have higher knowledge of those understandings, we can then explain it. But the whole idea is, intrinsically we are a spiritual being endowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the qalb, alright, and the akal and the jasad, and this whole thing actually develop what we call our perception. If you go back to our model, how you form perception, study this, very important, because this is a very deep knowledge. If you understand this, you understand how to actually achieve success and be an achiever in your life. Because later on, as I bring out these courses for life coach, inshallah, we'll have series of videos on life coach, PIP, for Muslims, how you want to become life coach and how you want to coach yourself first. Change ourselves, our family, our mosque, our community, our society. We have to do something. So inshallah, we'll upload free for you to learn to become life coaches and then maybe help the ummah in whatever way that we can do through our mosques and Islamic community centers to transform the ummah. But what is important is this whole idea. Our perception from our model, we create the perception, this perception will drive the belief. So the belief will then drive the behavior, and the behavior will then drive the outcome. And this whole circle goes back to performing new perception. Better perception, better belief, better behavior, better outcome. And this whole circuit, alright, is then bringing us from the understanding. Now our understanding is only on a physical level, going into the akal, conscious, subconscious, supraconscious, going into our qalb, then going to our understanding of the ruh. Alright, and this is a beautiful model. Alright, and inshallah, if I can explain to you rationally, remember we are taking this from the perspective of a rational what do you call it, understanding. We are not telling you some stories or some fairy tales. No, we can link this back to the nature of the scientific understanding as it is in the 21st century, and we can understand this and then develop a very strong understanding of nature of the spiritual and the mystical world, and then receive the tawfiq and hidayah, because tawfiq and hidayah is mystical and spiritual. How can I tell you that Allah helped me? I only can know from the grace and the mercy of Allah. How can I know that Allah is constantly protecting me? Only from the grace and the mercy of Allah. That is from the aspect of understanding our spirituality and our mystical knowledge and our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the understanding of the realms of the spiritual. When this gate is open, this hijab, these veils, because between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there's more than 92,000 veils, but you just open one small gate, you will have inshallah the assurance of Allah and the assurance hereafter. Only in the remembrance of Allah do our hearts find rest. Only in the belief in Allah can we get salvation and achieve the fullness of this life on this earth and the fullness of the life beyond this earth, living beyond space, beyond time, forever in Jannah, which is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to all of us. So inshallah, as we go along with this video, understand this reality that when we talk about the spiritual knowledge, it is real. It's not unreal, it's real. You can sense it, you can feel it, you can receive it. And when you receive it, then inshallah, your heart and your mind and your spirit become strong in your reliance and tawakkul on Allah, always knowing that He is always there to protect you, to help you and guide you and make you the best of person and the best of gifts in this world and the hereafter, inshallah.